The massacre of 19 children and 2 teachers wasn't enough to stop America's most powerful gun lobby from holding its annual convention today, in the very same state where those shootings took place. Protesters right now are gathered in Houston, Texas, accusing the National Rifle Association of disrespecting the victims of Uvalde. Former President Donald Trump is scheduled to address the convention soon, but other speakers and several musicians scheduled to perform have pulled out. One singer explained the decision.
I believe that I have the right to protect myself and my family and my home, as I believe everyone does. So I'm a Second Amendment guy, unless so there's no question about that. I just did not believe it was the right thing to do. It would have been kind of a classy move on the NRA's part, and they need some good PR right now, if they'd cancel the whole thing and said, hey, we're going to go in here for one big moment and say a prayer for those folks, or have a moment of silence, and we'll come back and do this later.
We're now joined by a former executive in the U.S. firearms industry. Ryan Busse is the author of the book Gunfight, My Battle Against the Industry That Radicalized America. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks. Wish I didn't have to be here, but thank you.
And again, we have these sort of conversations because these are not rare events. They happen all the time. And in the wake of this latest shooting, Ryan, you wrote an interesting but depressing article. You wrote, shootings aren't a sign America is broken. It's working exactly as intended. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, come on. We're throwing the equivalent of lighted matches and gasoline into a closed room every day, and we shouldn't act surprised when we have explosions. I listened to Governor Abbott's interview there, defending anything and everything that's going on in Texas. But come on, he's the governor. 18-year-olds can buy these kind of rifles. We think that, I mean, by his own laws, 21, you have to be 21 to buy a handgun, but 18-year-olds can buy these kind of rifles. And then we allow the firearms industry, which I was a part of, but I was not a part of this sort of incendiary marketing activities that have been going on for more than 15 years now. We've been leading to this. This we can't act shocked at this. This is what happens when you pump those sort of ingredients into a system.
And Ryan, despite the fact that we continue to cover these mass shootings, these massacres, week after week, month after month, year after year, we don't see the laws improving. We heard the Texas government just a few moments ago saying that, do we expect laws to come out of this? Absolutely, yes. The problem is when you look at what is happening in a lot of states in the US, including Texas, they come up with laws after a mass shooting, and then a couple of years later, as we saw after El Paso and Odessa, they loosen restrictions yet again. So this continues to happen. Why is it in the interests of lawmakers, of the NRA, to have zero gun regulation?
Well, because I believe that the gun issue and the NRA is on the very tip of the United States culture war. And they have the loudest mic, they set our political discourse, and they tell Republican lawmakers that the only way to move is in one direction. And you're right, Abbott talks some kind of game now, but the only game he has played is reducing gun regulation, is making it easier for these things to happen. There aren't a lot of things that were specific to this case, but in general, the support of the firearms industry. I mean, Texas is a huge, huge firearms market, and it's welcoming to the sort of incendiary marketing that the firearms industry engages in. And it's leading to a militarization of our kids and our communities, and it's ruining our politics.
Ryan, you worked in the firearms industry for more than 2 decades. You advocated for responsible gun ownership. As we speak right now, the NRA convention is underway in Texas. They advocate for guns to be in the hands of anyone, anywhere, no questions asked. Yet, no guns right now are allowed in the convention as they await to hear from former President Donald Trump. And this isn't the first time the NRA has banned guns at their own conventions. Are they hypocrites?
Yes, absolutely they are. And I should note that there are about So there are a lot of guns on the floor. They're show guns from manufacturers. All of those guns have to be disabled, and they are checked by safety officers. In the factories where those guns are made, I know because I've been inside them, they're very strict gun protocols. You can't bring your personal gun to work. When you shoot a gun in the facility, you have to be in a safety range. You have to have safety equipment on. You have to keep the muzzle down range. You have to fill out background checks. Even when you're an employee, you have to do these things. And so firearms companies and the firearms industry knows full well what safety procedures look like because they demand it in their own facilities. They demand it at their own conferences, at their trade shows, and yet they fight it. They fight against it for the general public. Like it's completely hypocritical.
10 years ago, a 20-year-old shot 26 students and teachers at Sandy Hook Elementary. And shortly after, the firearm used in that massacre was used in an ad by Bushmaster. They showed the rifle, and we have this image, and it was aimed at young men, saying, "Consider your man card reissued." This was after that Sandy Hook massacre. This company remains the leading seller of AR rifles and M16 type rifles. This mass shooting we've just seen, we're covering it this week in Texas, used a similar weapon. The gunman had bought 2 of those rifles days apart, just after his birthday, on and after his birthday. What is it going to take for Americans sick of this bloodshed to stand up to those companies?
Well, I think it's going to take responsible gun owners, of which I am one, and I know there are millions. They have stood silent too long. They have let the NRA say that they represent all gun owners. They have let the NRA have the mic. They have bought into this conspiratorial crap that says that the sort of progressives or the Democrats are coming to get your guns. It's complete bunk. It's time for responsible gun owners to kick the door down and stop this insanity, because it really is insanity. We're not ever going to solve it, but we shouldn't let the good be the perfect be the enemy of the good. We can step in, just like we have done on cigarettes and car safety and every other facet of our life, and make things marginally better. And gun owners need to demand it.
They really do. Ryan Busse, really good to get you on the program. I really do hope we see some change soon. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, still to come, landscapes torn apart, lives lost or changed forever. Stay with us for exclusive reporting on the war in Ukraine.